Darren Marchant with American Nomad News. If we're to have a scalable form of government in deep space based on population, we're going to have to figure out jurisdiction. And by that, I mean that here on Earth, we have an easy reference for jurisdiction, the ground itself. We mark a line, measure the line out based on mountain peaks and river valleys, and we see where you're going to live and where I'm going to live, who's going to call the shots in each area. And we need a function like that in deep space. So one way to look at it is orbital jurisdiction. If we take the Earth-Moon system and a little bit of extra space around it, plenty of space to fit stuff that's orbiting in Lagrange points and things like that, or are entering the Earth-Moon system, that should be considered a particular jurisdiction of Earth. And let the people of Earth sort out how they manage that. Now, in deep space, we have different kinds of orbits, and we'd have to work out how to move around in those orbits and still have some level of organization to how we change that environment in a controlled manner as to not throw the balance off of things, and really take very, very long-term timescales in terms of, if we decide we want to steer the sun to a particular part of the galaxy, we could actually do that only if we had super long duration stability on certain kinds of decisions, mass balances and stuff like that. But the rest of it can be a little bit more open and free to operate without being the wild, wild west. And one of those is orbital jurisdictions, to give us an understanding of how to deal with telling a guy, yeah, you can go ahead and you can mine that asteroid under these conditions. If you can, show that you can do it safely, then we'll open up the market to you. But if you're not responsible, if you keep having accidents and we keep having to push asteroids away from Earth because you're just not getting it, then we're not going to give you permits, and our other guys are not going to cooperate with you. But we need to be careful about how to put that together so that we don't abuse people the way a lot of bureaucracies here on Earth are able to do so when they stop being managed by responsible people. This is a Thought Minute. Let's take a look. How many minutes we got there? It's like 3, so I can go for a little bit more. I can't wait to the days when I got a computer that I can use to edit these videos properly and present them in a manner that is more in line with my thoughts and less in line with all the stumbling to get those thoughts. If we have a cycler ship of the size that I'm thinking about, just really huge, but built over time, it can start out as merely a unit designed to be the captain's bridge and living quarters for the crew. Just like you build a big shipping vessel, there's a segment that you can almost just carve it out of the ship, and there's your command and living space. And you build something like that, but you build it in such a way that you can rapidly scale up. And a lot of that could be that equilateral triangular scaffolding, which could be made into long segments attached to that crew quarters and captain's mast, and extended out, filled with workshops and hydroponics bays, And it could cycle along that cycler orbit, which you need to look up to understand. I've got some other videos where I describe it a little bit. And one of these days I'll sit down and read off some Wikipedia stuff and kind of get into some specifics. I'll put a link to Wikipedia under the video if I remember to. And so getting into space is gonna, if we're gonna do it on a scale that I imagine doing it, we're gonna have to build a reason for people to go based on their familiarity with the operating functions of society. And that means manufacturing jobs for everybody that's leaving the planet, creates an enthusiasm and positive commentaries. Hey, I'm cut in and I don't have to leave. I can sell you, if I even think you're a fool for wanting to leave, I can say I'm selling spacesuits to fools. And they make a lot of money and they're paid and they feel fine for it. So that's fine. Build all kinds of motivations for different people in different parts of society so that we can decide to do these things and understand our part in it and how we're not going to lose out. Spacesuits are one thing. Life support systems, propulsion units, electric propulsion is likely to become a much bigger thing. And also, one of the ideas that I've been throwing around is to have spacesuits that you start with a flight suit. And a flight suit is meant for a pilot of something like the space shuttle or the guys on the Orion going up to the space station. And they have that in their cabin. The cabin provides the pressurization and so forth. And their flight suit is there to protect them from brief exposure to the vacuum of space and things like that. They're not meant to be spacewalk suits. So one thought is you build an articulated robot of the type they're using and calling them exoskeleton kind of assisted power equipment. It's essentially a robot that a guy wears, and it senses his motion, his intention to motion, and copies that. And one of the videos shows a guy in one of these exosuits, and he's got a hook attached off the end of his arm, and he's grabbing ammo boxes and just throwing them up to a couple of other guys, and he's just keeping them busy, and he's not even working hard. And look at this. It says Life Support Systems, Fort Worth, Texas. Use SDOT 2004019. He's got big oxygen. KWS 153. Sidewalk closed. Not to me. Okay. Alamo precision rifles. Yeah, Texas likes their guns. So the jurisdiction for a cycler would have to be adapted so that type of spacecraft and freedom of motion and things like that in space for individuals is built into the system from the beginning. And a peer-to-peer communications kind of style of things is a good idea. It means that you don't have to be dependent on a backbone. No, you don't have gatekeepers to the internet of space. Okay, let's take a look here. This road is closed, and there's the El Chico, and this is all bulldozed up. Let's see, how many minutes am I on? I'm on 10 minutes dead up. Okay, I'm going to wrap this up. But as you can see, road construction in Texas is a favored pastime. Gets a lot of money and effort and attention, and that's good. Keeps them busy. But it's time we start wrapping up some of this stuff and shifting those guys into some other heavy earthworky stuff. Since they've got the tools and everything, they're used to using them. They got crews to do it. Come up with some contracts to clear out these gutters and stuff, and the floodways under the bridges, all those things in short order, and do it half expecting it to flood any minute. Just act like that. Make a habit of it. Don't let your machine sit idle overnight down in a ditch. Any of those kinds of things. This is Darren Marchant, American Nomad News.